Welcome to this brief exploration of Genesis chapter 47. We step into a story already in motion, a grand narrative of family famine faith at a pivotal moment. Jacob's family settles in Egypt, while Joseph reshapes the economy and society during a devastating famine. It is a story of God's providence, working through people to preserve his chosen ones, Israel, and to sustain a nation on the brink of collapse. The central event: rescue and resettlement. A family finds safe harbor in a foreign land, part of a divine plan born from decades of suffering and betrayal. The scene: a severe, widespread famine across the ancient Near East. Main figures we know: Joseph, Jacob. The chapter opens with a formal and significant event: Joseph presenting his family to Pharaoh. He carefully selects 5 of his brothers to stand before Pharaoh, representing the family and their occupation. This is not a casual meeting. It is a diplomatic presentation that will determine the future of his clan. Joseph, acting as a mediator, has coached his brothers on what to say. Pharaoh asks about their occupation. They answer, "Your servants are shepherds, both we and our fathers." Genesis 47:3. That declaration is crucial. Shepherds were looked down upon, so they'd be settled apart to keep their identity. Joseph brings his father, Jacob, for a personal audience with the king. A poignant moment: 2 patriarchs from different worlds face each other. Pharaoh asks, "How many are the days of the years of your life?" Genesis 47:8. A question of deference to an elder, honoring long years and wisdom. Jacob answers with spiritual weariness, his life a pilgrim's journey. Jacob: "The days of the years of my pilgrimage are 130 years. Few and evil have been the days of the years of my life." Genesis 47:9. He frames his age as hardship, not worldly boast. His humble confession shows identity rooted in God and his place in covenant history. Jacob blesses Pharaoh, an act of spiritual authority that transcends status. Pharaoh grants them the very best of the land, officially designating Goshen. Goshen, a fertile area in the Nile Delta, ideal for their flocks and herds. As the narrative shifts from Jacob's family to the wider Egyptian populace, we see the famine's grip tighten relentlessly. The initial relief provided by the sale of grain for money proves to be a temporary solution. The text starkly describes how the money in Egypt and Canaan was exhausted, leaving the people in a desperate state, crying out to Joseph for bread, lest they die before his very eyes. This desperation sets the stage for the next phase of Joseph's economic policy. He is not portrayed as a heartless bureaucrat, but as a pragmatic leader facing an unprecedented crisis, tasked with keeping an entire civilization from perishing from starvation and social collapse. With the people's silver and gold spent, Joseph institutes the second stage of his plan. He commands them to bring their livestock, horses, donkeys, sheep, cattle, in exchange for food. The verse notes, "And he fed them with bread in exchange for all their livestock for that year." Genesis 47:17. This was a significant escalation in the cost of survival. For an agrarian and pastoral society, livestock represented wealth, livelihood, and the means of future production. Giving them up was a sign of utter destitution, a step away from complete dependency on the state. Joseph collects the animals for Pharaoh, further centralizing the nation's resources under the crown. This policy, while harsh by modern standards, must be understood within its context. It was a strategy designed for collective survival, preventing mass death and chaos. Joseph was not enriching himself. He was managing a national emergency on behalf of Pharaoh and the Egyptian people. Though costly for individuals, it ensured orderly distribution and sustained people through another year. This highlights Joseph's administrative genius and commitment to structure over anarchy. The text presents this phase without overt moral judgment, The people participate because the alternative is starvation. When the year of exchanging livestock for food ends, the famine still rages. The people of Egypt face the final, most desperate reality. They approach Joseph again, their candor reflecting complete vulnerability. They hide nothing. Our money is all spent. The herds of livestock are my lord's. There is nothing left but our bodies and our land. Buy us and our land for bread. We and our land will be servants to Pharaoh. In response, Joseph enacts the final, most transformative part of his policy. He purchases all private land in Egypt for Pharaoh, except the priest's land. The population shifts from landowners to tenant farmers on state land. Joseph provides seed to plant the fields, not a handout but a system for future productivity. He is not merely giving them fish, he is giving them a new, albeit dependent, way to fish. Joseph establishes a law for the land of Egypt. I have bought you and your land this day for Pharaoh. Here is seed for you. You shall sow the land. At the harvests give 1/5 to Pharaoh. 4/5 shall be your own. The 1/5 tax becomes the cornerstone of the new economic order. In exchange for land and a portion of future harvests, the people were guaranteed seed and sustenance. A covenant born of desperation, a form of state serfdom across the nation. The people's reaction, not resentment, but profound gratitude. You have saved our lives. We will be servants to Pharaoh. From their perspective, Joseph was a savior. He provided a sustainable path through the famine, servitude a small price for life. This underscores the crisis and validates Joseph's leadership. After the dramatic account of the famine's peak, the scene snaps back to Jacob and his family in Egypt, a quiet epilogue to his long life. Jacob, also called Israel, lived in Goshen for 17 years. During that time, the family thrived. They gained possessions. They were fruitful. They multiplied greatly. This shows God's blessing and the beginning of the fulfillment of God's promise to Abraham. As Jacob's life draws to a close, his final concerns come into focus. At 147, he knows his time is short. He summons Joseph, the son who saved the family. He makes a final, solemn request. Not for wealth, not for honor.
Do not bury me in Egypt. Let me lie with my fathers. Carry me out of Egypt. Bury me in their burying place.
I will do as you have said.
The oath becomes a sacred covenant between father and son. With the promise secured, peace settles on the patriarch. Then Israel bowed upon the head of the bed. He does not cling to life. He peacefully entrusts his spirit and his family's future to God. Genesis 47 serves as a masterful case study in the quiet, often hidden providence of God. God does not speak from a burning bush or send angels. He works through Joseph's wisdom, Pharaoh's generosity, and Jacob's enduring faith. It calls us to lead with foresight, integrity, and concern for the vulnerable. In summary, Genesis 47 shows us God sovereignly saving Israel, positioning them to grow into a nation. Trust his unseen hand. If this helped, please like, share, comment your reflections, and subscribe for more chapter-by-chapter explanations.